National Assembly in Banjul recommends the extension of state of public emergency. Egyptians observed this year's Ramadan in the unusual way due to the COVID-19. Ethiopian government is set to boost its communication industry despite the effects of the coronavirus. This and more coming on The World Today. Hello, this is Africa TV. You are watching the World Today News Bulletin. I am Amadou Kante. Many thanks for joining us. And now the news in detail. The National Assembly Select Committee has made a strong recommendations for the extension of the state of public emergency for additional 21 days. Chairman of the committee presented before the Assembly on Friday that the Gambia operates in critical situation which requires enforcement of tougher measures to prevent the spread of the COVID-19. Details of that in this report.
The Special Select Committee of the National Assembly on the implementation of the state of public emergency said the further extension of the state of public emergency for a period of 21 days must be based on strict adherence to its implementation. This came subject to government's request for the ongoing state of public emergency to be extended for another 45 days as it ends by next week. Chairman of the Special Select Committee, Alhaji Mbow, presented that the adjustment was required because isolation centers are both ill-equipped and under-resources in addition to the lack of treatment centers across the country.
Considering the fact that a lot of people in the Gambia continue to live in denial of the existence of COVID-19 and as such grossly disregard social distancing or any measures at public places in the markets, the committee thereby resolved that the state of public emergency be extended to a further 21 days, subject to strict adherence to the implementation of all state public emergency regulations.
In April, lawmakers in Banjul extended the initial 21-day period of emergency for another 45 days that ushered in some restrictions in the field of transport and commerce. The regulations close all non-essential food outlets, schools, and places of worship across the country amidst public outcry of hardship in the partial lockdown. The 7-man committee observed that borders are porous and as such people continue to illegally enter the country without notice and without being quarantined. In response to their report, argued that a regulation to be in place to make it an offense for anyone, transport driver or compound owner who assists any unauthorized traveler to enter the country or harbors any visitor or guest from abroad in his or her compound without notifying the health authorities.
The closure of all borders must be fully enforced with the deployment of the armed and security forces. The army should be used to reinforce the regional tasks in the implementation of the regulations. The Minister of Interior, in collaboration with the Minister of Health, should ensure that the quarantine and isolation centers are off-bound to visitors 24/7.
The position of deputies was in cognizance of the fact that COVID-19 cases continue to rise in the neighboring Senegal, leading to the steady increase in the number of infections in the Gambia. The Gambia is currently nursing 13 cases of the coronavirus. The Gambia is currently nursing 13 cases of the coronavirus out of a total number of 23 confirmed positive cases since March 17. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Absegay.
We will now go back to the National Assembly in Banjul and speak to our man on the ground, Ibrahima Prasba. Ibrahima, thank you very much for joining us again. Well, there should have been an extension today. How did it end?
Select committee on the matters around the state of emergency made a very strong recommendation, and the committee of the whole house could not approve that recommendation because it was already time for the assembly to rise up for the day. So by evening, a motion was passed for the National Assembly to close for the day and continue session tomorrow, Saturday. Saturday is not usually the working days for the National Assembly, but due to the the urgency of the matter. Now the National Assembly has adjourned until tomorrow, Saturday, meaning the discussions are expected to continue even before the Minister of Justice had presented the formal request from the government for extension of a period of emergency for additional days.
Now that they are coming back tomorrow to the National Assembly again, what should we expect in tomorrow's sittings?
The discussion on the report should complete before the presentation from or the request from the Minister of Justice. But already, during the debate on today, the whole of today, you could see the desire for National Assembly members to extend the state of public emergency. You remember that the Vice President of the Republic of the Gambia spoke to iAfrica last week Friday, and decided to leave all effort on the hands of the health authorities to say that whether the period should be extended or not. So now the health workers across the country are calling for the continued stay-at-home campaign, meaning that the National Assembly now is left with a very critical option and to extend the period of emergency. But how long is the question? Although the Select Committee recommended in its report that the period should be 21 days on condition that it will be better than the 45 days that are ending next week, because this period of the ongoing public emergency, according to them, is not respected. Markets, social distancing in the markets is not observed, and people are not putting on face masks. So there must be a difference, according to their recommendation now, for the government to get it in their way that the state of public emergency to be extended by the National Assembly.
All right, we look forward to tomorrow's sessions, how it will pan out. But for now, thank you very much, Ibrahim, for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our, of course, senior reporter and correspondent Ibrahim Prespa speaking to us live from the National Assembly in Banjul. Next to Egypt, because the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic has largely affected the lives of Egyptians during this year's Ramadan, with many spending less than usual. Despite the fall in price of the food items, citizens are cautious of their expenditures as the future is unpredictable due to the coronavirus diseases. Business owners are worried of the situation as the number of COVID-19 cases continues to rise. Here's more details of that in this report.
From raw to roasted and spiced nuts, packs of dried figs, apricot and raisins, with a touch of coconut, hibiscus or tamarind, and a good amount of dates. Egyptians have brilliantly labeled this whole list of items under one word, yamish. It's the usual basket for many Egyptian families during Ramadan, but this year, people are buying much less.
This pandemic has made me a bit cautious this year. Yes, I'm buying yamesh, but not as much as last year, because I need to save some money for my needs during the following months. Many businesses have stopped, and we do not know what's going to happen next.
Orders for yamish imports begin 6 months before Ramadan, so supplies were all set long before the coronavirus pandemic hit. But with this global period of economic uncertainty, prices have fallen by up to $1 a kilo. That's around 15% for some items.
All products are available. Prices this year are excellent. Unlike last year, they are cheaper. Merchants bought their Ramadan inventory before the pandemic, so when we reported cases, they became afraid. When the government made a curfew, they dropped prices to get rid of the stock, fearing that a full lockdown could be imposed and then there would be no sales.
Chambers of Commerce in each city has reported an overall drop in sales ranging from 40 to 75%.
The yamish market has witnessed great consumer abandonment since the pandemic began. People are concerned, they fear the impact of the pandemic. Many are more concerned about securing their necessities first and their daily strategic goods.
Last Ramadan, the bill for yamish imports was at about $40 million. This year, merchants are rushing to store their product to preserve it for the next season.
From the report there in Cairo, Egypt, we come back home and report on politics because the United Democratic Party has ruled out any possible alliance with the APRC to defeat President Barrow in the next presidential elections. The UDP spokesperson argued that the two parties do not have close affinity in terms of democratic principles and respect for human rights. His reaction came after deputy spokesperson of the APRC said his party would welcome the support of the UDP to achieve victory. Details of that in this report.
The public relations officer of the United Democratic Party told iAfrica Senior program on Wednesday that the UDP will not work with any political party or individual implicated by the commissions of inquiry. Of those, Almami Funding Tal said the former ruling party, APRC, with exiled former president still considered very important for the party, is the one that the UDP cannot work with.
Ku melni président Yaya Jammeh nak su fekkee ne APRC dañ ko bëgg a def seen kanam ne mooy seen live président man mun naa wax ci turi UDP ne ñun duñ mun a digaale koo xam ne loi am na lu mu wax ci moom ba tey loolu setangut.
Meanwhile, both the recently concluded Janneh Commission, which investigated financial irregularities under the governance of the APRC, and the ongoing TRRC looking into human rights violation under the party, have implicated a number of key figures who worked closely with the former President Jammeh. His reaction came after deputy spokesperson of the APRC told the Point newspaper that the APRC will welcome the support of UDP to achieve victory against the incumbent in the 2021 presidential elections. Duduja was of the view that it would be nearly impossible for one party to defeat a sitting president looking at the resources and advantage at his disposal over the opposition parties. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Aminata Job.
And from the report there by Aminata Job, we will now take a break and come back shortly with the remaining update story. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
All over the world, healthcare workers are in the front line of the fight against COVID-19. Here in the Gambia, they can be found in hospital wards taking care of patients, at hospital hallways cleaning away germs, at press conferences providing information to journalists, in the streets tracing people who came into contact with those who have tested positive for coronavirus. All of these people are soldiers fighting coronavirus on our behalf. The Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry recognizes this sacrifice and is therefore urging all of us to pay tribute to these medical workers by stopping whatever we are doing every 6 p.m. to clap for these frontline soldiers.
Welcome back. You are watching the World Today News Bulletin on Africa TV, and now to the rest of the stories. Now, Ethiopia is committed to expand its telecommunications sector despite the impact of the COVID-19 global pandemic. The government is on course to issue 2 licenses to private telephone operators in its effort to widen the industry. Due to the COVID-19 distractions, authorities have started online discussions to the country's communication authority with interested parties. Let's have more details of that in this report.
Ethiopia's plan was to introduce 3 new players to join its telecommunications sector by the first quarter of this year. The idea is to have a company buy a minority stake of the incumbent operator, Ethiopia Telecom, and 2 additional licenses to be issued to individual telecommunications operators. The government says because of COVID-19 disruptions, it has begun online consultation through the Ethiopian Communications Authority, ECA.
ECA has to come up with a number of directives that would allow the liberalization process. To support that work, ECA has finalized the directives and actually is conducted a webinar, an online public consultation so that this process continues. Would continue to issue, we should be issuing the expression of interest, for instance, on the licensing area very shortly. The preparation is being finalized.
However, it admits that there may be a delay in the liberalization process.
There will be some natural delay if people need to come here, do their DD. This is a very big transaction, as you can imagine. It requires physical visit discussions. So that would definitely add in a couple of months delay, we would assume. But whatever can be done remotely, we continue to do. But as the world economy recovers and as people begin to travel, we go full force into the implementation.
In the meantime, it is working to boost investor confidence through measures that will keep the economy afloat through the COVID-19 period. The government has so far injected over $400 million from its own budget through the banking sector, in addition to tax reliefs. And it is looking for more. International companies with interest in bidding estimate that licenses may fetch at least $1 billion, as well as another $1 billion plus to build out networks. This is considered an expensive venture by interested companies, but with Ethiopia's population of over 100 million people and an estimated 50 million phone subscribers, the Ethiopian market remains attractive.
And from that report there in Ethiopia, finally we head to South Africa, because as part of effort to curb the spread of the COVID-19 in South Africa, hand washing containers have been installed in strategic location in Cape Town, provided by a football local team. Citizens have welcomed the move, saying it can help them constantly to maintain hygiene. The authorities have been urged to expand the gesture in other parts of the country to stem the spread of the virus. Let's have more details of that in this report.
Imizamu is a South African township situated on the slopes of Out Bay, where the community continues to face significant density issues, which has been identified as a potential risk for the spread of COVID-19. But now the community has been given a new weapon in the arsenal to fight off COVID-19, and keeping their hands clean is a key part of it. These self-service sanitation stations have been positioned at the entry and exit points of the community, so that residents can keep their hands hygienically clean at all times.
With the sanitizer, always after 10 minutes or 15 minutes to take out that disease, because if you're not going to use that things, you're going to make a problem in an area, and then all the people must use a mask always, no matter you're at home, no matter whatever you are.
The sanitation stations have been provided courtesy of a local football club as well as the city of Cape Town, who are concerned about the community becoming a potential virus epicenter. 2 10,000-litre water tankers serve as the vessel to deliver the hand sanitizers, and residents here seem to be making very good use of them. Free hand sanitizer has been pivotal in trying to contain the spread of the virus within this community, and now residents here want other surrounding communities to have them as well.
I run a small business, a removal business, so it's even me who brought these tanks here and some water. When it's finished, they call me to fetch it and bring it. But when we deliver, we see the people, they show appreciation and very happy.
Free water has also been provided to avoid people queuing at one of the few potable water points available. And it seems right now Imizamu Yetu's overall measures to fight the disease has deep support within this close-knit community.
That report there in the Cape Town, South Africa, finally brings this news bulletin to an end. But for more details on this and other stories, you can also log on our website on iafrica.tv. Many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and bye for now.
All over the world, healthcare workers are in the front line of the fight against COVID-19. Here in the Gambia, they can be found in hospital wards taking care of patients, at hospital hallways cleaning away germs, at press conferences providing information to journalists, in the streets tracing people who came into contact with those who have tested positive for coronavirus. All of these people are soldiers fighting coronavirus on our behalf. The Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry recognizes this sacrifice and is therefore urging all of us to pay tribute to these medical workers by stopping whatever we are doing every 6 p.m. to clap for these frontline soldiers